Okay, so we've all seen it, right? That cryptic status update, the passive-aggressive Instagram story, or even a full-blown messy breakup thread playing out in public. It's almost become this weird modern-day ritual. But what is really going on when a private heartbreak turns into a public spectacle? Let's get into it. It's a question a lot of us have probably asked, maybe scrolling through our feeds. Is it all just about people venting their feelings, or is there something, a little more calculated going on behind the scenes? Well, it turns out this isn't just random, chaotic drama. More often than not, these online conflicts follow a pretty predictable and kind of destructive pattern. In fact, a groundbreaking new study has actually given this whole phenomenon a name: emotional collateral. And for this explainer, we're going straight to the source. We are going to break down the entire playbook behind these campaigns. And it's all based on the fascinating research of Dr. Ronnie Rodas. He's a digital sociologist who has systematically analyzed exactly how these online wars are fought. So first up, let's look at the how. What does one of these online smear campaigns actually look like? Dr. Rodas's work shows us that it's way less about spontaneous anger and a lot more about using a set of specific, repeatable tactics. And he didn't just guess this. To figure it all out, Dr. Rodas did a deep dive into 200 public cases, everything from news reports to messy social media threads. And what he found was this really consistent anatomy, a set of go-to tactics used over and over again to damage an ex-partner's reputation. And the numbers here are pretty staggering. I mean, look at this. Out of the 200 cases he studied, a whopping 168 of them involved vague posting. Right behind that was recruiting allies at 151, and direct insults came in at 142. This isn't just random anger. It's a clear, observable pattern. So what do these actually mean? Well, vague posting is that classic subtweet, the post that doesn't name names, but everyone knows who it's about. Recruiting allies is when they start mobilizing an audience army, getting mutual friends to pick a side, to block, or even harass the ex. Then you have the more obvious stuff, direct insults, calling someone a narcissist or a cheater. And of course, the big one, leaking private screenshots, the so-called receipts. What's really interesting is that Dr. Rodas also found that different platforms basically become different battlegrounds. Instagram and Facebook, they're often used for that long, visual, emotional storytelling. TikTok is perfect for short, viral video narratives. X, which used to be Twitter, is the home of those public threads and subtweets. And then, behind the scenes, you've got messaging apps being used to coordinate the whole campaign, and sometimes for direct harassment. Okay, so that's the how. We've seen the playbook. But now for the big question: why? What's the psychological engine that drives someone to wage a public war instead of just, dealing with their grief privately? It's such a crucial question, right? And the research points to this potent mix of really deep-seated psychological needs and the unique, weird environment that is the internet. So the first piece of the puzzle, according to the framework Dr. Radas uses, is attachment theory. For someone who has an anxious attachment style, a breakup doesn't just feel like a loss. It can feel like a fundamental threat to their entire self-worth. So a public campaign becomes this really desperate attempt to get validation back from an online audience. The second big factor is something called the online disinhibition effect. Basically, the screen acts like a shield. It makes it so much easier to post really harsh judgments or leak intensely private details, stuff most of us would never, ever dream of saying to someone's face. That lack of immediate, real-world consequences just fuels the fire. And all of this feeds into this really toxic cycle that Dr. Rodas calls the drama triangle. Here's how it works. Step 1. The person publicly presents themselves as the victim who has been wronged. Step 2. They cast their ex as the evil persecutor. And then step 3, they invite their online followers to become the rescuers, to give them sympathy, to validate their story, and often to join in on the attack. It's a loop that just keeps feeding itself. So, we have the playbook, we have the motive, but what about the consequences? This is where that term emotional collateral really comes into focus, and it highlights just how widespread the damage from these online wars truly is. This quote from Dr. Rodas's study, man, it just captures it perfectly. The fallout isn't contained to just two people. Suddenly, mutual friends, new partners, family members, even workplaces, they all get dragged into this polarized conflict they never asked to be a part of. The damage just spreads like wildfire. And the research shows that in the end, nobody really wins. The person being targeted often deals with social isolation, very real damage to their career, and long-term anxiety. But the person who started it all, they don't get away clean either. They often end up regretting it, they find their public campaign actually scares away potential new partners, and ultimately, they just feel stuck in their own past hurt. And maybe the most devastating finding in all of this is the mutual disruption of trust. Dr. Rodas' analysis uncovered this really tragic common thread. Both the target and the initiator reported having profound difficulties trusting new partners down the line, terrified that any future disagreement could also blow up into a public spectacle.
But look, the research doesn't just leave us with the problem, it also points us towards some potential solutions. So how do we actually move forward and navigate this digital minefield?
Dr. Rodas outlines 3 key pathways to improvement. First is education. We actually need to start teaching digital relationship ethics, helping people understand the real-world consequences of what they post. Second is mental health. Therapists should probably start assessing a person's digital behavior as a standard part of helping them process a breakup. And third, platform governance. Social media companies themselves can design their platforms for more friction, making it a little harder to lash out, and create way better tools for reporting this kind of targeted harassment. And this really is the ultimate takeaway from the entire study. We have got to stop seeing this stuff as just messy breakup drama. Dr. Rodas' work completely reframes it as what it is, a form of digitally mediated relational violence. And that's a serious social issue that demands a real, collective response from all of us. Which brings us right to our final, lingering question. After seeing the playbook, the motives, and all of the devastating fallout, you have to ask, in the online war of a breakup, are there ever really any winners? All the research seems to point to a resounding no. Everything we've covered today comes from the incredibly powerful and timely study Emotional Collateral by Dr. Ronnie A. Rodas. It is such a crucial lens for understanding the wild digital world we're all living in. Thanks for tuning in.